Hey everyone, Laurel Beard here today with another video, and today I'm going to be doing something I'm calling raised inlaid die cutting, and I'm going to create this card in the video today. Now what's funny is almost 99% of my cards always start with a white card base. So I'm going to be using the Build a Flower Hibiscus stamp and die set. I'm not going to be using the dies, the coordinating dies with it. I'm just going to be focusing on the florals today. And there's my little piece of white cardstock. And it's always interesting to see how I start with white and then what I end up with is like not white. So this hibiscus actually has 5 layering stamps, and don't let that scare you. If you know me, you know I'm afraid of layering stamps. So any layering stamps that I use, you know, must be easy to use. So I'm going to be using all Catherine Pooler inks with the exception of a white ink. The first color, I'm listing all of the colors that I use below as I'm using them. So this is Be Mine. The first one was It's a Girl. And when you're doing layering stamp sets, you want to start with your lightest color and then work your way darker, because you're putting layer on top of layer on top of layer, and if you do it the opposite way, the colors aren't going to shine through. So here's my deepest of pinks that I have, and this is Party Dress. And you can see how easy it is to line up this stamp. You actually don't need a stamp positioner for this particular stamp set just because it's so simple to line up. So the final color I'm putting on is red, which is called Rockin' Red. Well, this isn't the final layer. This is the final color palette. The final layer, which is the 5th layering stamp set, I'm actually going to stamp white. And this is the Hampton White Pigment Ink Pad from the 10 stamps. I always like to add a little white in my layering stamps that I use, whether it's the last layer or the middle layer, whatever. I just like to have a little white peeking out of there. And so I'm going to go ahead and stamp that down, and then I've got my little panels. Now it's time to work on the leaves. So I'm going to still be using Catherine Pooler inks. I'm going to start with Seafoam because that's my lightest of colors. Then I'm going to go in with, I think there's only 3 or 4 layering stamp sets for the leaves. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, again, super duper easy to line up. I'm actually going to switch over to an acrylic block because it was just faster to line these things up. So this is Grass Skirt. And then I'm going to go in with the final color, my deepest or darkest of colors, which is going to be Eucalyptus. Now the back of all of the Altenew layering stamp sets actually has a layering guide. So be sure not to throw your packaging away. Flip it over and you'll see the layering guide. Now for the design that I'm doing today, I didn't want too much white space because I'm going to do some die cutting. So I flipped it over and took a look, and I am not a flower person. I knew this was a hibiscus, but I didn't know what all the little images were. Like I didn't know if this particular stamp set I'm stamping now was a flower or not. On the layering guide it was colored in green, so I'm going with green. I'm sticking with it. Whatever. I'm using the same color formulation as I did with the leaves, and again, super easy to line up, as you can see. Not a big deal here at all. So once I've got all of the color down, I'm going to stamp the, what do you call the middle of the flowers? My son would know this. The stamens? I don't know. Anyway, with Catherine Pooler inks, and then I'm going to go in over all of everything I stamped. I'm going to take that first stamp, which is the base stamp, and I'm going to stamp over all of that with VersaMark ink. So all that ink is going to sit on top of that stamped image. I'm going to sprinkle on some Rainbow Sparkle embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and then I'm going to heat set that. And doing that, it's trapping all of that color that I laid down underneath that VersaMark ink. So to do that, again, I took the very first stamp set of the layering stamp sets, which was a solid image, and that colored, you know, covered everything up so perfectly. Now this is so hard to capture on camera, but it's so sparkly. So you can leave it as is, which is absolutely beautiful, and just call it a day, or you can take it one step further, which is what I did here. I'm using some distress ink, and I'm crossing my fingers that this is going to work. And I'm going to just take that distress ink, that's black soot, and just smush the ever-loving bejeebies out of that onto my card panel. Now, then I'm going to take a cloth and kind of brush away the ink, and what's supposed to happen is the ink is supposed to resist the VersaMark, so you should be able to wipe it clean. I do have to restamp. I got to do a little bit of stamp surgery here. Well, card surgery really, not stamp surgery. I did have to go in and restamp the center of the flowers, and I went ahead and white heat embossed that because I really wanted some white popping through. Then I've got this white gel pen. I'm just going to go in and touch up some areas here and there and add a little white detail here, a little white detail there. And as you can see, that left hibiscus flower did keep a little bit of that black, surprisingly, so I did not do a good job when I inked that up with the VersaMark ink the first time, because the VersaMark should have resisted that ink. So I'm just going to take that stamp, the solid stamp, ink it up with VersaMark, sprinkle it over the top, and then sprinkle on that embossing powder again and heat set. And then I'm going to trap in that sparkle. There's still going to be some of that black there. There's nothing I can do about that, but that doesn't bother me once I get the sparkle on the top. Plus, we're going to die cut it up anyway. So this is the Thinking of You die. I went ahead and laid it right on the center of my card, and then I ran it through my Gemini Junior, and this is how I get all my bits out. I literally just whack the crap out of the die onto my work surface, and all the bits just kind of fall out. I also die cut 2 pieces of that die with some fun foam. So those are black pieces of fun foam, and I'm layering them one on top of the other. And then I'm going to take that embossed panel there and put that right over the top. And then I've got 3 layers of this die cut, but because it's fun foam, it's super thick. So I would equivalent that to probably 6 or 7 pieces of cardstock. Now some of that the background color is going to shine through. So I was debating between pink or red. So as you can see, I decided to go with red. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this glue on, and then I'm going to piece that right back into place like a puzzle piece. And you're left with just beauty. It's sparkly, it's shiny, it's floral. You've got that dark black background. You've got the dimension from the die cutting. It's just so pretty. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made sense. And thank you guys so much for joining me today. I've linked to a couple other videos down here if you're interested. And of course, all of the supplies and more photos are listed over on my blog as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.